It's so beautiful here in New York City in the rain, in the autumn, and the crazy. I'm DeVoe. This, no, I did it again. This is the beautiful and marvelous Christina Chu.
Hello.
And Christina has an important announcement, which she is going to make right at this very minute. Are you ready? Let's go. We're starting with something exciting. Go.
Well, so I've had the pleasure and honor of hosting and curating for Pen Parentis for about 12 years.
How many years?
And I've also been pretty active in the literary community in general. I've always focused on inclusion and community building and project development and curating and hosting. And well, there comes a time when a writer needs to be responsible to herself to write and write well. And right now, I think it's that time. So this December will be my last salon for the time being. So thank you for being out there with me all these years. It's been fun, joyful, and super duper meaningful.
We love you so much.
A year from now,
we are going to have so much fun building Christina's last few salons. You are going to die by how great they are, starting with this one.
I hope to have something to share with you all in a year. And that said, I'll be around. That's all.
And we are super excited because we get to keep her until December. So keep coming because you're going to watch. Because look at Aline said, no. We're already building the people in the audience. Audience people, as you know, your job is to put in the comments who you are and where you're from so that we can see you, because we can talk to you back and forth. And, it's your last shot to say nice things to Christina for a few days, for a few little whiles. But we have a very exciting salon for you, provided our technical works. And let's talk about it. Christina, you want to tell us a little bit about the
Yes. So our topic today is beauty and violence in language. I'm particularly interested in the prose and how we manage to pull off this feat. So we have three incredible authors. We have Ash Bainbridge. We have he's the midwife and writer based in Worcestershire, UK. We have Thaddeus Rutkowski. He's the author of 8 books, most recently Save Colors. We have Martha Sulak, whose poetry includes The Fault, the National Jewish Book Awards finalist. So everyone, welcome to our authors.
Yay, authors! Yay! And hello to everybody out in viewer land. But first, a word to our sponsors. This is the word. Thank you. That's 2 words. Dang it. I messed up anyway. But I do want to say thanks to the Key to the Castle workshop, which is a 6-week generative writing workshop where participants write from sensory memory and experience. And you can watch our Pen Parentis newsletter to learn about their Tap the Senses class and their Amalfi Coast program this May. You can follow them on Instagram at KTTE Workshop, and it is founded by Kathy Curto, who is a colleague of Thaddeus. Like, it's all this crazy thing, and Kathy has read for us. So it's like this crazy community that we're building across the world, and it's all lovely, lovely, lovely. And then our other sponsor for tonight is One Lit Place. It is a full-service online writer center with brilliant professional coaching, copy editing, and proofreading. It supports writers from start to finish. OneLitPlace.com has great discounts for Pen Parentis sustaining people. So, if you're a sustaining donor and you love us, we love you back and we give you good things. And one of the things is One Lit Place, and we hope you look into that. Also, this series is made possible in part by ongoing support by poets and writers with funding from the New York Department of Cultural Affairs, the De Groot Foundation, hi Clydette, thank you, and the Poetry Foundation. And that is why we have so many poets. See, secrets. And of course, our main source of support is public funding from the New York State Council on the Arts and from donations from viewers like you. That sounds like the end, but it's just the beginning. Are we ready to talk about our authors, Christina?
Yes. Our first author today is Ash Bainbridge. He's the midwife and writer based in Worcestershire, UK. They are a Poetry Slam champion and a Mary C. Cole Award finalist. He is also a healthcare activist with a best-selling chapbook about being trans with endometriosis. Ash has published in Lit Mags, The Winnow, Inksack, The Viridian Door, Solstice, Pulp Poets, and others. Everyone welcome Ash Bainbridge.
Yay! Yay! All the way
Thank you
from
so
England. Woohoo. Wait, I love this voice. Go.
I'll say thank you so much. And also thank you for saying Worcestershire in such a
Worcestershire.
beautiful way. It had all those
We need
extra
coaching.
consonants that's just added to it.
I'm so sorry.
Worcestershire.
I just can't. There's some words are just like, blah, blah, blah. It's a little bit like, anyway, okay, go on. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah, those it's written in a way that isn't necessarily how it's said. It's the same as reading, and it looks like reading, and we'd like to make things as complicated as possible.
Well done.
Thank you.
Oh, you guys, see this QR code that's like over my head in this picture? Wait, Christine.
Yes, you got it. You got it.
You pointed it. There it is. That QR code will let you buy their books. So go buy Ash's book right now. Just saying. Just do it. Just put it on your to-do list. Go. Yay.
Thank you. So would you like me to start with a reading, or are we going to go round?
Reading. We want to hear you read.
Reading. Okay, let's go for reading.
Poetry.
So I was thinking about what to read this evening, and I thought I would share the poem that's most meaningful to me as a parent. And I wrote this while training to be a midwife, and I was working on the same ward where my child was born, and I was working a night shift and the sun was coming up, and so this poem's about that.
Oh, how exciting.
And it's, I think, encapsulates both beauty and violence for me within one poem. And it's called Now You're 4. The hardest skill, I find, is to recall just enough to slake a question I predict while auscultating fetal hearts at dawn. So how was childbirth for you? My feet tread the same floors where you were born 4 years ago today in a blood slick. The hardest skill, I find, is to recall. Her friendly question is valued but ignored, instead discussing the pattern of her baby kicks while auscultating fetal hearts at dawn. But my now annual zoetrope jaunts memories of cords, drugs drawn, needle bricks, lines, scribes, packets torn, algorithm scripts, bimanual uterine massage tricks, marinated towels, blood transfusions constrict, apologies fraudulent and authentic. Please, will you look up at me? The hardest skill I find is to recall our near miss. You see, drapes on wards aren't soundproof walls, and beats crescendo as fob watch ticks while auscultating fetal hearts at dawn. Her fundus tightens, and she breathes deep, withdraws, support and needing support conflict. The hardest skill I find is to recall while auscultating fetal hearts at dawn on your birthday. Now you're 4. Thank you.
Oh.
Yes.
So how old is your child now?
So now they're 7. I had to think about that then. 7. I have a 7-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Nice.
So yeah, and I felt very privileged to train where I received care. But it's one of the themes I try to explore in my writing is being in those like liminal spaces where you're sort of, you are very, very fully present with your own thoughts and emotions, but also you're supporting someone else at such a pivotal moment in their life. And all those emotions can kind of come together, and it's
you're very centering. It's so nice. Given all our technical stuff, I'm like, oh, now I feel good. Now I'm in my body. This is lovely.
Do you ever find that experience, like you basically support other people while they're going through this horrendously horrible process?
Beautiful. Spiritual. Lovely.
Oh yeah, spiritual. Oh yeah, beautiful.
It's a spectrum.
Yeah, right. So do you find that a lot of the emotions end up in your work? Does that translate, or how does it affect your writing?
It's really hard sometimes to know what to do with those emotions, because something that I really pride myself on in my work is I'm very emotionally present for people, and that I try to kind of really meet people where they are and listen to what they want for their births and their journeys and how things are unfolding. But it's a real job of highs and lows in that way, and that it can be a lot, and you're exposed to a lot of emotion, and I think it can sometimes encroach onto your own emotional bandwidth. And I think it would be inhuman for that kind of not to happen and to be fully detached. I don't think that's a healthy thing. So writing actually really helps me process that, to get it all out of my head, and the how should I be feeling, why am I feeling this way, and all those questions, and then actually what is here in the raw mess of it that doesn't have questions attached, it just is, and to get it all out on paper. And it helps me process it, but it also helps me feel like it's safe and away from that other person's experience, because their experience is theirs, and that's a very precious thing. But my experiences in that space are also important, but it helps me to feel like they're separate things.
Are the collection transcript is that how you say it? You do the little pauses in the middle?
Oh yeah, no, I just say it all in one go, but I love a clever hyphen.
It's very good. Oh, can you describe that? You were telling us a little bit earlier about the title. Do you tell us the sort of deeper meaning behind the hyphenated title?
Thank you. So yeah, this is about the fact that I live with endometriosis and something called premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which is like an extreme version of PMT, premenstrual tension. And it was a journey, and I wrote a book about it because I felt when I was looking for things to read about living with these conditions, it was, very woman-centered, which is obviously brilliant for women, but there was nothing that really spoke to my experiences and navigating those spaces. So it's trans for my gender identity, CRIP, because I don't know if it's the same in the States, pardon my ignorance, but in the UK it's been used as a slur against disabled people and people living with chronic illness. And then the T, because of the testosterone that I take. And I just thought this is so nice to have like a whole bunch of puns in one title, and it's also quite gothic.
It's very clever.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Good. Let's quick run down the hellos out in audience land, because I see Helene out there. I see Andrew out there from Sydney, Australia. Love you for coming, Drew. Diane Botnick is out there. Hi, Diane. And Eli or El Sandbach, I don't know, from Petaluma, California. So we have some really interesting people out there. Again, if you're out there, say hi and we will talk back to you. Yeah. Cool. We will continue this conversation, Ash, after our next reader. We're going to read all the readings, and then we're going to have super massive conversation about how to navigate violence and beauty using language.
Yeah, thank you.
And all the things. Thank you. It's gorgeous, gorgeous poem.
So our next reader is Thaddeus Rutkowski. He's the author of 8 books, most recently Safe Colors, a novel and short fictions. He teaches at Medgar Evers College at CUNY and at the YMCA. He's also a thesis reader for Columbia MFA program. He received a New York Foundation for the Arts Fellowship and a Best Small Fictions Award. Everyone, please welcome Thaddeus.
Hey!
So I'm going to read something from my latest book, Safe Colors. And I chose something about my family. I don't know if it's beautiful or violent, but it is very anxious. It's called Dinner Prep. It's 2 pages in the book. I was planning to make a dish from rice and mixed vegetables. I'd forgotten how to make something from these ingredients, but I wanted to change what I ate and become healthier. I usually was not vegetarian, but our daughter usually was vegetarian, and I was cooking for all of us, wife, daughter, and myself. However, I didn't know how to get past step 1, making the rice. How much water should I use? I asked, how much rice? Look at the directions. I was told by my wife and daughter. I
Sorry.
read on the box, measure twice as much water as rice. Add butter, boil, then simmer with the lid on. I apportioned the water, then the rice. I dropped in a spoonful of butter and turned on the burner, not to high heat, but to medium. I looked for a lid, but the one I selected didn't fit. Even so, it didn't fall off the pot, so I let it balance there. I hoped the water was the only thing that would simmer. Any one of us could flip our lid, but, well, not my wife. She wouldn't do that. She was the calm one. My daughter and I could always talk to her in a reasonable way. I was so wrapped up in making the rice that I ignored the mixed vegetables. I started the chopping, careful not to slice a finger. I had the idea that professional chefs had scars on their fingers from many wayward blades. I was no chef. I wanted to keep my fingers as they were, intact. I had ended up with colorful piles of crudités. I oiled a pan. I used to have a wok, but it left my possession long before, and shoveled in the vegetables. My next task was to set the table. I was tempted to lay the napkins out flat, but I knew my dinner companions wanted their napkins folded along the diagonal. There was something aesthetically pleasing about the triangular shape from a diagonal fold, something more attractive than what you'd get with a horizontal fold. Personally, I didn't see the difference. The napkins were going to be messed up anyway. I had to jump from the table back to the sizzling mixture. I stirred the vegetables as they fried. Simmering rice. The lid had fallen off but didn't break. Then returned to the vegetables. The heat was too high. I was getting charbroiled green and white pieces when I wanted them slightly browned. I almost forgot to add the sesame seasoning and the soy. Busy at the stove, I neglected the table. There was the matter of drinking glasses, not just any glasses, the personal glass for each drinker. I found the correct vessels and looked for ice. I was lucky. There was ice, but not much. It was time to freeze more water. I wondered how long it would take water to solidify in our particular freezer. We had a cold ice box, but the temperature setting was probably not all the way down to coldest. I couldn't gauge the actual setting because I didn't know where the thermostat was located. I had not seen or touched the control knob in years, and I was not about to look for it now. I slid the ice tray in and waited. However, I could not focus on waiting for ice to freeze. That was like waiting for water to boil. The next step was to bring the chairs to the table. Our table was too large for the space it occupied, so one chair, a rocker, had to be slid in, another chair needed to be unfolded, and a third chair had to be lifted over the back of the couch. While carrying the chair, I needed to watch for the head of my daughter, who might have been sitting on the unfolded chair. If I missed her head, I'd have to be careful not to hit the table. The sharp blow might cause the tabletop to come loose from the support, and the flap might collapse to its original downward position, and everything on it might fall to the floor. But I carried the chair successfully, and we began our meal of rice and stir-fried vegetables. Our daughter looked at my plate and said, "You are eating too much."
So, when you said your daughter might be in the chair, was she in the chair?
She was in her own chair, and I had to not hit her with another chair that I was carrying.
Okay, so it wasn't might, it was she was there, and I didn't want to hit her.
She was there.
Thad, I know you for a writer of experimental, really weird fiction. Can you tell us something about Safe Colors and how this falls into your oeuvre of writing? Because you've written so many books, and so many of them are just like surreal or
right.
So how does this fit into your
Well, I write short prose for the first place. Very short prose. That was a whole story that I read. It was 2 pages. And in other parts of this book, each section could be shorter. I think in terms of the paragraph, a lot of cases, and each paragraph is almost a story. And then I put them together until I have a book. But it's all in the same voice. So the voice is consistent, but the incidents change. I don't know if that's, I don't know if that's very experimental. I mean, I guess traditional would mean that there's a continuous narrative without line breaks. I have many line breaks and separate little vignettes. I guess that you'd call that experimental. I do want each chapter or story to have a beginning and a middle and an end. So that is not experimental. That would be narrative arc. So, yeah, I mean, it's partly experimental, I'm partly telling a story of a character, the narrator, who grows up and lives a life, and this covers the
All right.
whole life.
Wonderful.
Cool.
Thank you. On to our third and final reader, Marcela Sulak. Her poetry includes The Fault, which is the National Jewish Book Awards finalist in poetry.
Woohoo!
Yahoo! City of Sky Papers, Decency, Immigrant, and the chapbook of All Things That Don't Exist, I Love You Best. Her lyric memoir is Mouthful of Seeds. She co-edited Family Resemblance, an anthology and exploration of 8 hybrid literary genres, and translated 5 poetry collections from Czech and French, including The Music of the Wide Lane, the selected poems of Sharon Haas, which was awarded a 2018 NEA Translation Fellowship, and 20 Girls to Envy Me, selected poems by Ort Gedali, which was longlisted for the creative writing for the 2017 Pen Award for Poetry Translation. She's got awards all over the place.
Marcela's thinking, I haven't done nearly enough.
Sulak directs the Shandy Rudolph Graduate Program in Creative Writing at Bar Ilan University and is managing editor of the Eanote, is that right? Eanote Review. She's a single mother of a daughter who just graduated from high school.
Yay!
So get out there and get to work with your writing, because if she did it, you can too.
That's right. Yay, Marcela!
Thank you. Thank you. And I just wanted to correct those last 2 translations are from Hebrew. So in case people get confused looking those up, but I do translate from Czech and French as well. So I was trying to think about what to read tonight, and I will be reading from The Fault. And after hearing Ash's beautiful poem, I was thinking about starting off with one called Double Life that contemplates the inverse of being pregnant. I was in a near fatal accident years ago, and I was hit by a truck, and my daughter brought me back when I was leaving. It was beautiful. I was leaving my body. My soul couldn't wait for what was coming next. And then I felt something pulling on me, and that was her. She was too young for me to go. That is in the poem. It's early in the book. This book has an arc. I like to call it a bit of domestic horror. Briefly, in my single motherhood, I had a marriage with it was a blended family. And so that called up a lot of being in a position that you don't recognize yourself. After an accident, you don't recognize yourself. You can't do those things you used to do. And when you're suddenly cast as a stepmother, it's not something that most people aspire to. They get a bad rap in fairy tales. So I was, first of all, can you hear me? Because I hear some reverb. You're okay?
We hear you fine, but I recognize that there is some, but of course you're calling in from Israel, so it's not like
it's traveling along.
It's going around the whole world. So yeah.
All right. I'm going to read The Fault. Most of these are parables, or fable-y kind of things like Kafka's. And so this is in the middle. The narrative arc starts off with this transformation and then trying to be a character that you've not been prepared for in your life. The fault. One morning on her way, the wife felt a little fault nipping at her ankle. She bent to the path through the dry grass, and there it was, all alone and lost. Whose fault are you, little one? She asked, but the fault just began to cry. She stood there waiting, but no one came to claim it. So she picked it up. All day. Oh, wait, I think I know what the problem is. Hang on.
Are you fixing it?
Is this better?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. The fault. One morning on her way, the wife felt a little fault nipping at her ankle. She bent to the path through the dry grass, and there it was, all alone and lost. Whose fault are you, little one? She asked, but the fault just began to cry. She stood there waiting, but no one came to claim it. So she picked it up. All day, through the city, in the library and classrooms, in the salary department and HR, among the crates of last-minute onions in the corner grocery store, no one had lost the fault, and no one was looking for it. And when the husband met her at the bin, she said, I have found your fault. You dropped it on the way to the public. No, no, said the husband, this isn't my fault. I'm afraid it's yours. You must have dropped it when you were shaking out the tablecloths, or else attempting to accidentally break the faux crystal plastic pitcher my mother gave us for our beautiful new home. But as it was plastic, it only pretended to break. This is surely your fault. No, it's not my fault, said the wife. Perhaps it is your mother's fault. She might have left it with the faux crystal plastic pitcher she bought for our beautiful new home. But it was not his mother's fault, nor was it his father's fault, for his father had not brought with him his collection of faults when they had visited during the last minor holiday. They had not been accustomed to celebrating and had not even brought any pretend faults to parade. This is probably where it came from, said the woman. It fell out of step in the parade. She felt sorry for the fault and decided to keep it. She wrapped it in her arms and fed the fault a little leftover fish from the too much she was said to have prepared. The fault found the fish delicious, and soon it was fast asleep in the bed that belonged to the husband and wife. The wife hoped that it would sleep all night and not wake them up too early in the morning. And the book ends with things get really bad and out of hand. And I just want to read one paragraph from near the end. It's called Storyboard. In this story, I am the bad witch of the West, the evil stepmother, the siren, that kind of thing. This is just a mock-up. We can work out the details later. In this story, I make everyone feel like shit. The less I appear in the story, the bigger I grow. I do not like it here in this particular story, and the other characters resent it when I try to escape into the double space between each full stop, and the double spaces between paragraphs, or the single spaces between words. I've tried them all. I should have been using sans serif because they're always catching me by the serif and pulling me back in. Without me, the words would have no spaces and nothing would make sense.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yay. I like the dual nature of your writing, where there's the literal and then the idiomatic echoes, overtones. It's nice. Super nice.
I love that you actually made the fault a character. That is so wonderful. And the way the play on words, and it's just so wonderful.
And you said that the book is a narrative, the whole.
Yeah. It becomes weirder and weirder. And so I found, Christina, that making these topics, things that mean one thing that I think they mean, and then everyone else thinks they mean something else, and it never quite fits. I found that it works really much better when you're trying to deal with these disturbing and perplexing and frustrating situations, to just make them characters and then let them take off and do their own thing. And it was a form of, like, when it's hot, writing cold. And it helped me to distance, to be able to write more traumatic parts as well, by just making these things characters.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so interesting. This is actually, you're touching on something that I really want to talk a little more about. Since the topic is beauty and violence in language, can you talk a little bit more about that process?
Sure. When I find that when you are in traumatic situations and under a great deal of stress, this isn't just me, I know this, and probably Ash, you deal with it as well in your work, that one's ability for empathy decreases the more stressed you are. And so sometimes it helps to depersonalize things by looking at the situation as if from above, especially when something in this book, there's domestic violence, and there are other violences. And so in the book, it sometimes helps to look at a situation and just focus on one small bit of it, because sometimes it's overwhelming to try to address the entire thing, and just to take apart one word. And I often find that words that can be used for inflicting pain and for damage can also, when broken apart and examined, contain keys for escape or keys for redemption. Sometimes some words can contain, like the word cleave, that can mean two separate things: to cling and to separate. Many, many words are like that. And you can just contemplate the word a little bit. It sometimes allows not just an escape hatch, but a way to create a rational comprehension of something that's absolutely devastating or difficult to grasp in its fullness.
Gorgeous. It leaves, it creates a space, a sort of openness around the concept, so that you can look at it not just from the fear or anger or whatever bad emotion, let's call bad, not bad, but like the more
negative emotions, or
more violent emotions perhaps, and then allows in possibly some peace. Can we pull everybody on? I want to talk. Let's talk. Let's go talking.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that's so interesting is like when you were talking about using those words and identifying them as characters. Some people, when they're writing fiction, intentionally choose omniscient point of view because it's very distant from what's happening on the page, right? How about you, Ash? What are ways that you deal with this?
I really like that, what you said, Marcela, about that kind of bird's eye view and looking down. And oftentimes that I feel that immediately after something has happened and I'm reflecting back on it, and I can't imagine what it was like being in the moment, and I almost see it from that bird's eye view. But something that I try to do in my own writing, which I found really interesting in comparison to what you'd said, is to dive straight into it. And something I try to achieve is that, like, a really visceral experience when you're reading. And I don't even know, I'll confess this, if part of this is a little bit of spite, of like, I'm feeling this pain, you're going to feel this too. I'm going to
come with me and feel my pain with me. I will allow you in.
Yeah, it's like, welcome into this experience, whether you like it or not.
That's pretty great.
And the opening poem in my book is me sort of exploring that the title of the poem is Why Are My Periods Heavy? And I try to describe what the really painful menstruation is like. And one of them is about, one of the images is like rose petals, but sutured with thorns.
Ooh.
And it was that sort of thinking that it does kind of feel delicate in a way, but it's also got that sharp edge to it. And yeah, to try and communicate the real, in what in my mind is the accuracy of how it feels by getting right down in there.
Yeah, definitely.
When you're making word choices, let's say all of you, do you find that when you're getting into more graphic or violent or painful, especially painful locations, do you find your language gets more flowery or more simple? Or do you always write a certain way? that's just always your tone.
You know, I can see, I'm going to link into what Ash is saying while I answer this. I can see when you are consumed with a physical pain, that's a bit different than a metaphysical pain. And I can see the impulse to really embody, because there is an impulse when you're physically suffering to leave, not to stay in the moment. So I can see this meditation on the here now, the physical pain, the body, and I see its uses, and yeah, I find that really interesting. I find also that when I do tend to become more, my sentences get a little more complicated or more run on, I try to use some, a simple word will do. It's better than an expensive word if it's the right word. So I guess the right word is more important than, the register most of the time. But sometimes in the work that I'm working on now, it's about space, taking up space, fighting over space and place. And it looks about into the idea of the divine and human interactions with the divine in history. And I find that sometimes when you're talking about disembodied beings, they need more sentence place, because you have to create it in a word.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I would stay awake at night crying because I couldn't understand infinity.
Nice.
How could it never end if it never began? How could something never begin? And it takes a lot of words to, I just said it simply, but when you're trying to describe this dilemma, sometimes it takes a few more words to do that. So
sometimes the more simple a concept is, the more words it takes
to
put it on the page, so that it doesn't feel like a nothing. Like, in a way, nothing is also infinite. And there's
nothing is always something.
thing.
I was going to say, it's like, because for me, it's that I love that the phrase that you used there, Marcela, of expensive words. I knew exactly what you meant then, and it was so succinct. I was like, yes, the word. Yeah, I love that so much. Is that I just kind of wanted to add about how editing comes into the process for me, because a lot of it is I don't know if this resonates with anyone else, but that I don't give myself permission to say the hard thing straight away, and I feel like I have to write, and then what I want to say is in there somewhere, and it's only when I get back to chopping it out and going, and then I'll think, can I actually say that? Is that okay? Do I have to add anything in? And that, yeah, it starts lengthy and then generally crystallizes right down.
I really enjoyed the lyricism, Ash, of your repeating lines of your poem. Was it a structure? Is it like a villanelle, like or did you create your own structure that, because the repetition of those lines was quite lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And very melodic.
Thank you. I started the structure initially was based on a Dylan Thomas poem, and then I used that to sort of as like a scaffold, and then once I was confident that the poem could go somewhere,
Was it the Do Not Go Gentle poem?
I can't even remember which one it was. I honestly, and then once it had got to a certain point, I went, I don't need that anymore because it's not working, and then it expanded in the middle quite a lot. So I can't even remember which poem it was initially, but I love the repetition within that.
Yeah, it's a very nice, particularly for a hospital setting where you just constantly hear the same thing over and over again as you're like drifting in and out of consciousness of, whatever you're doing in that hospital. There's that,
I really wanted to capture that time as well, that I feel like it's such a special time that kind of as dawn is about to come up, and especially but loads of babies are born at that time, and it's beautiful whether in home or at the hospital, and just as the sun's coming up, and that and people are a little bit sleepy or they're tired because they've been up all night laboring, and it always feels a bit twilight and special. But I did want to capture an element of that in the poem, so thank you.
Yeah, that was a lovely, lovely poem. The rest of the poems, are they all set during about your midwifery, or is it all kinds of all things that are related to the you that is you?
So it's more about the health journey, really. So yeah, about kind of endometriosis, and that it sort of came to a head during my midwifery studies.
I see.
So there are a couple of midwifery themed poems in there, but the work that I'm working on at the moment is about being a visibly queer person in midwifery, and what that's been like, and whether people are expecting a man to turn up on the doorstep, or they're expecting someone like me, or all those conversations and the interactions with people based on that. So yeah, that's where my writing is heading at the moment.
That's super
Oh, that's great.
interesting.
I
Yeah.
can't wait to read that.
Marcela, you're in a war-torn, crazy area at the moment in Israel. And how are you finding, I mean, inner peace to be able to continue to create such lovely poems? You were saying a bit about it being...
You know, in a way, I find that these last 2 years were, in terms of creating work, not in terms of anything else, similar to the first 2 years of single motherhood, because I did not have the I didn't have the luxury of granting myself permission to feel certain things that are necessary to feel when you write, because I was there. I had just started a tenure track job and I had a baby, and I had no family around except that they would come in, every 3 months or so, which is absolutely delightful and helpful. My mom was like the best mom, baby mom, like she was so good with babies. But that was like 1 week every 3 months. And so I didn't have the, to really think and to feel things. It would make me sometimes, not present or not. I was taking care of a lot of people, my students, my baby. And so I didn't write that much. And these 2 years have been, especially in the beginning and then during particular times like the Iranian missile strike, where it's so surreal and your sleep is constantly disrupted. And in the daytime, and in the beginning, you can't believe what's happening. So that it just felt so surreal that I would just lose track of time, space. What I started to do after I wrote articles in the beginning, and then I couldn't create. So I started translating. I started translating a lesbian Czech coal miner named Antoshova, Svatova Antoshova, because she writes about deep time. She writes about geological formations and coal mining in North Bohemia, southern Germany. And I found that comforting. I found it comforting to look at ancient rock face, to think about how we can fuck things or mess things up as much as we want to. The earth is still going to be here, right? And, we might get totally erased from it, but then the earth is still here and we don't know. And, just contemplating how many civilization and I'm on the Mediterranean. I live right on the sea. I can walk 20 minutes and I'm on the sea, and I can look at Greece and wave and think about Odysseus, and it just helps to kind of go a little bit back and to think it isn't always going to be like this. It was like this before in the past, and just humans continued, and it will be, we'll keep continuing, I guess, in some way. And so that's how I've been dealing, is translating, trying to inhabit other time places.
I always feel really inspired when I see grass in stupid places in Manhattan, like on the top of a building, or on the side of the cornice, or like, in the middle of the brand new parking lot. It's like nature is like, oh no, you're not.
I know.
You're not even doing this.
But in terms of parenting and writing,
Yeah.
I want to just say one thing that helped me through everything, and I think about it now, is that there is no wasted time.
That's right.
You may not be able to write, but you are, just as just as the baby you were creating neural networks without even lifting a finger there. You're still creating something, and something is being created. It just you may not be able to express it right now, but you're gathering experiences, and you're appreciating that grass that can grow everywhere, and those little flowers that can come out of cracks and bricks. You're just gathering experiences. So it's not a waste if you can't write at that moment. I don't think you always have to be writing all the time, producing. You just need to develop an awareness, right? And just to cultivate this awareness, or to
A
journal.
creative practice. Yeah.
Practice,
We're
yeah.
talking about a creative practice. And
Yeah.
there are so many different ways that you can maintain your creative practice without actually having the time to sit down and actually do the writing. But then there's also short snippets of writing that you can do if you know, like that.
Yeah.
Letting some previous guests have said about like letting go of the preciousness of their writing practice, where they don't have to necessarily have a candle lit for half an hour before they start.
Well, you have some younger kids, so you must need to compartmentalize or something, right?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and especially we home educate as well, so which adds another kind of interesting dynamic to it. But I feel like it's helped me be more creative and actually kind of say, well, we're going to sit down and we're going to do some writing. And I think this is great for you, but also, hooray, I get to do it.
Yeah, right? That's so great. How much did you do? Yeah. I love it.
And it's helped me become a bit more playful with my writing, because if they want to write, you know, I don't know if anyone's ever like written a poem on a banana, like writing in a biro on banana is a joy. It's such a lovely thing to do.
Yes.
And I just think like, let's write our poetry on a banana today and theme it around yellow. And I don't know, it's just helped bring out some playfulness in my writing.
I did not expect the banana to become art in writing as well as hanging on a wall. So I'm impressed. I love it.
There you go.
My daughter and I write love notes to each other on bananas when I pack her lunch, you know.
Oh.
She came home upset one day. She's like, Mom, you gave me a banana and you didn't write anything on it.
That is
I
have
a whole book of exercises I did with my students. It's not a long book. It's a short book, but I just did them. I gave prompts and I did the prompts with the students in the class and collected them into a book.
And what were these prompts?
Various things. Banana wasn't one of them, but potato chips was part of one. And it's just, it's just wide open exercises that you would sort of personalize. I would say, remember an object in your home and write something about how it came into your home, who used it, is it still there? Things like
I mean, I think some people use prompts and find them really useful. I don't know. Do you, Marcela or Ash, do you go by prompts? Or I find it really distracting when someone says, okay, here's a prompt, go. And I'm like, no.
Especially if it's a fast writing exercise. Like, right, you've got 3 minutes to write this. And I just think, the stress, it's like a competition with my brain. And I just, it's that's me.
Well,
I gave myself a prompt once that I wrote, the book City of Sky Papers. That one was the the Jewish Book Award finalist, not the fault. But that's okay. But for that book, I gave myself the prompt of to get here today. And I wrote that book on the bus or while jogging or on the bike. Well, I didn't write on the bike, but I thought on the bike. And the idea was I had to just notice, I stole this idea from the book, 10 Walks and 2 Talks, in which you just walk and then you think of 60 things. You walk for however many minutes you've walked, you think of that many things you noticed. No comment about them. You just noticed them. And so that was useful to get here today. And, it can become like I had to notice that my leggings were on inside out. So I had to, go to the bathroom and change them. Or it could be to get here today. My grandfather had to, it could be all kinds of ways. And this prompt was nice. And it was something that you can do as you're taking your, packing your kids' lunch or doing whatever you have to do that day.
Yeah. How about you, Thad?
I don't use prompts unless we have nothing else to do in the class. Usually we have work to discuss that we've read in advance.
But how about do you use prompts?
I give a prompt every week, but
no, I'm talking about you as the writer.
Oh no, I don't. But I will tell you, my process is usually to use memories. I use my memories, and they can go back to my childhood. And I usually start with notes about a memory or something I've heard, could be someone else's dialogue, and see if I can do something with it.
So I'm a little I'm a little curious that you what you read. The topic is beauty and violence
Yeah.
in writing. So can you tell me why you chose this theme?
Oh, I
in
chose it
particular?
because it's about a family, my family, and this was Pen Parentis. That's the reason I chose it. But when I read it, I noticed there was the possibility of getting sliced with a knife. That was about as violent as it got. And
Can we talk a little bit about time management with kids? So, Thad, when your kids were tiny, when your child was little, how did you find the time or make the time
I
to write?
belonged to an urban colony for 13 years. It was called the Writer's Room. It's in the village.
I love it. We love the writer's room. Hey,
Because-
Donna.
Yeah, so I was a member for 13 years, and you could go there every day, and I can walk there from my apartment. So, and then when my daughter became, I think, 16, I stopped going there because I didn't need to. So that's one way.
So you found a space outside of the home that you were able to go to get some.
And I also went away to
going to work
during my vacations from work. I mean, I had a full-time job for more than 30 years. And I also wanted to say that has something to do with my writing, because I worked in journalism, and in journalism, there's a certain kind of style of directness or, declarative sentence. So I tend to follow that. But anyway, yes, I also went away during my vacations to writing art colonies. And so you'd have a couple of weeks of uninterrupted time.
Awesome. So let's check in with Ash and see how Ash dealt with time management. Let's go.
I mean, he's got a 7 and 8 year old, so
I was gonna
he's
say.
in the middle of it.
I am. I was hoping to get some tips or at least some reassurance that at some point I'll be able to finish a thought.
Yes.
I was interrupted by another thought.
Reassurance is yes, you will. And then you're going to be like, why? I miss them so much.
That was the sweet period.
But it was so nice when they were always just everywhere. Yeah.
Oh, no, it is. It's lovely. I think that's right when you said about writing in snippets. There's been a real shift, especially since having kids. But I really value those tiny pockets of time. And if I don't have time to grab a pen and paper and put them down, like recording it as a voice note to myself
smart.
on my phone.
Yeah,
so
good tip.
And again, especially because so many come to me while I'm driving, so then I'll pull over for petrol and be like, "Quick, let's just get it down somewhere." And then
yes,
as you can tell, I don't have the technology to take footnotes on my phone.
Yeah.
As you saw with this meeting.
You're good. You got it. We got you in. It's fine.
Marcela, how about you? Oh, sorry. Ash, finish.
Fine.
I think when I started working, when I became a mom, I lived in places where it was very impractical to have a car. So I did a lot of public transportation, and I used that when my child was very small to write on the bus, literally. Or like I said, if I was biking, then I would, write when I got there.
She wasn't a screamer.
Yeah, I mean, I put her in school and then I went to work. So I did it there. She was a screamer. I used to pick her up on we moved when she was 3. I used to live in DC, and then I moved to Tel Aviv. And when we moved to Tel Aviv, I went everywhere on the bike, because everybody goes everywhere on the bike. You'll see these Haredi guys with 5 kids on their bike, and they drop one and you help them pick that up. It's crazy. Everybody
drop somebody
on a bike, and so it's a real mix. It's wonderful. And so I would pick up my kid. I would drop off the kid. She would cry. And the kindergarten teacher told me she just did that until I left, and then she was fine and cheery and happy. And I'd pick her up, I'd put her on the bike, and she would scream all the way home, and then she would just stop. And I asked her one time, "Why do you do that?" And she's like, "I don't know." So
it never occurred to me to do anything else.
What else would I do?
Well, I wrote on the bus. I tried to wake up before. and write before she woke up. But, we were so connected. She would just wake up. If I woke up at 4, she'd wake up at 4. If I slept till 5, she'd wake up at 5. So I couldn't do the wake up early thing.
That's
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
And the first time I went on a residency was when I met Christina at BCCA. So she was 12 then. Yeah.
Well, you do, that Toni Morrison wrote The Bluest Eye on the subway going.
That makes
from
sense
work.
to me. Yeah.
Yes. Very annoying, but really
You like
wonderful.
trains.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
all
want
good.
that I write so productively. I mean, I write in, bits and pieces, but then I go back and I revise a lot, and I have a lot of things that don't work out. So, there's a lot of waste going on in my process as well.
Thad, do you have any rituals to do? Any of you have any rituals? We're going to start with Thad. What do you have anything that you do that gets you into, okay, now it's time for me to create? Or do you just sit down and you're able to write?
You're starting with me.
I'm starting with you.
I try to write first thing in the morning because I have more things to say, or I have more ideas to put down. My mind is clearer and I'm not as tired as I am later in the day. And then after that, I go to my work that I'm committed to do, grading and editing, things like that. So try to do it in the morning. And I usually have something that I want to work on. I might even make notes that I want to work on these pieces, because I have many things going on at the same time, and and they're not all coming together. So I usually have a plan of what I want to work on first thing in the morning, and I try to get that done then at that time.
Cool. Marcela?
When things change, and right now I'm in
Your child
I'm
is
in
much
a
older
transition.
now.
But like I said, when my child was small, it was the bus, and then when I would get home or right before I went to bed, because I made her bedtime. It was religious because she would wake up at whatever time in the morning, but at night I had an hour to myself before I went to bed, an hour and a half.
Great.
So, so I would do that at night. As soon as she went to bed, I would write down whatever I was thinking. And I have to say that I got a lot of encouragement from women when I was doing my PhD. They would tell me, you don't need to sit down and write all day. You're going to be thinking about your work all day long. You will sit down and write 2 hours a day. If you can get your butt in the seat for an hour or two. This was for the thesis, which wasn't as much fun as my other work. And that was helpful. Also, they told me that you can put cabbage in your bra if you have tender nipples, and it helps. So that was also useful.
Very, very important.
But now that the child is older and I don't have this constraint on my time, it's a little harder. When anything is possible, it's harder for me to find the time, because my life isn't scheduled around, her schedule anymore. So what I try to do is I make myself write, like once or twice a year, I do this poem a day or writing a day, or sometimes, flash a day with a group of people. And that helps me sit down and write, just knowing that you're not going to disappoint other people if you don't show up that day.
The community helps.
Oh, that's great. That's a great idea.
Yeah. I love that.
So that's what I've been doing. Like recently, it's kind of the only time I can write. And then when I'm a little more disciplined, I hope to establish more of a practice. But I do find that I have to journal every day. And my journal can be anything from to-do lists to a new word I learned, to a new recipe, to some new grass I saw growing in the cracks somewhere, just anything, just so that you write something down every day. That helps too.
Ash, do you have a ritual or a secret or a transition thing or something that lets you get into that creative mind from your busy, busy job that's very visceral?
Yeah.
Viscous.
I was going to say, I really hope I never do those hands at work.
Yeah, don't
do I think because I'm still at that point where I'm sort of snatching moments. I write so many bits while I'm on a break at work, if I get a break. And we have a lovely little room in the hospital that's called the Snug. And it's just having a little bit. I've written so many drafts of poems on the back of our big hospital kitchen roll things. So I try and take a different pen every day for just like so in my pocket I'm conscious that it's there, and then I can use it to write with something. And
that's
then
a
also
good one.
like, thank you.
It's
Always
real,
prepared.
it's super tangible. Well, no, but it's different every day, so that it's like you get eager to use the. Are they all pens you like?
Yeah, so they're all pens that I like, and they'll be in different colours as well, and it helps me remember the order that I've written things in when it's all on scrappy bits of paper.
Oh,
I'm like, oh,
wow.
this
That's
was the purple
smart.
day.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then,
That's
like
fun.
Marcela, I have people who check in, and friends who I'm very honoured will share drafts of their poems with me. And I think, wow, with their busy lives and their days, and they've sent me something stunning, and I really need to like up my game, and that will help me just give that kick to produce something myself. So
I love this. Okay, I'm going to let you all have, we don't have any questions from the audience this week. I don't know why. Usually they're really chatty. Today they're very just sitting and listening. So I want everybody to be able to give a last bit of advice to any writer out there who has little kids and is thinking about giving it all in because it's too much. What do you say? How do you get them to break through their angsty angsta? Marcela, go ahead, Dad.
Advice. I thought that I could not write when I had a child. I thought that it would not be possible, and so I put off having a child till I was mid to late 40s. We had a child, and as it turned out, I was wrong. It was just as easy or just as hard to write with a child as without a child. The child actually gave me material, gave me ideas, and I think that the child is something I would never, I never had second thoughts about. Just before having a child, I thought it would be harder. But as it turns out, talking about my process, I do, these notes, these bits and pieces at a time. I hope they come together. I can do that, like other people are saying, just about anywhere.
Yeah, nice. Ash?
it's really hard because I'm going to be a hypocrite when I say it, of like, just do it and just get it out. But I know that because I recognize that headspace a lot of thinking I'm so overwhelmed and I can't do it. And that's the advice that I give myself a lot, is just get it out. And that even if it's rubbish, like absolute nonsense, it doesn't matter, because at least it's out somewhere. And that if there is a way of involving your kids in the process, to give it a whirl. And it can be so fun, even if it's asking a question, if in like a disguised prompt or something, and see what they come back with, and then you can riff off it. It's so fun, and it just helps keep that creativity going. And like Marcela said, you don't have to be writing all the time, but those ideas can be brewing. And it really made me think of a line I say all the time when people are fed up of being pregnant, is like, you're not pregnant forever. No one's pregnant forever. Actually, if those ideas are filling inside you, they will come out at some point. So whether they're in your head or coming out onto paper, it is going on.
Oh, that's lovely. That's really lovely. And all these people who are walking around like 7 to 12 years pregnant with their novels.
Yeah, exactly. Those babies take a while.
25-year pregnancy.
Birthing undergraduates.
Marcela, do you have any final words of advice to the people?
I will say this, certain kinds of writing require certain modes of emotion and certain modes of being present. And so what helps me is to try a couple of different kinds of writing. It was hard for me to write poetry when my child was little, until she was like 2. But I did find that I could do a blog. I did a motherhood blog called Salon with 5 other women, and I only had to write once a week, and we published it, and so that was fun. And then I did translation. I know a lot of people in New York are multilingual. It's always nice to inhabit someone else's mind, and it requires a different kind of muscle. So it's good. Or you can just write, just keep records of, I like to cook and garden. So I just, do a little almanac-y kind of thing. So like you can do different modes of writing. You don't have to always be emotionally full on in your writing, right? You can use your brain instead. And if you're sleep deprived and you don't have a brain anymore, like so many of us didn't,
Yep.
I just like write down words before my lecture, whiteboard, marker, so I wouldn't forget what they're called when I'm standing with you, so sleep deprived. Like all kinds of different kinds of writing you can do.
That's lovely. Christina, can you tell us what we're doing next month? Because we do this once a
Yes.
month on the second Tuesday.
So we have our next salon in November is the topic is AI. We have David
Ooh.
Ebenbach, Scott Elliott, Helen Phillips, and Anka Silagi. Yeah.
She's, I think it's a Hungarian name, so it's, I don't know how to say it either. We have to find out.
I actually, Zilagi. That's it. Yes, I looked it up, so that's right.
We're also presenting our fellow Ellen Stearns, which will be really fun to meet her. What were you going to say, Christina?
I was going to say thank you to our amazing authors for being here tonight. It really was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you so
Marcela,
much.
Ashed. Thank you so much. And
Thank
thanks
you for
again
having
to
us. It
our
was so lovely being here.
Yay.
Yay.
All right. Say goodbye to everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.